Hello, let me begin by first saying, let's face it, Satan is not the most pleasant topic to examine. In fact, some churches avoid it or gloss over it. Yet we must examine the pleasant with the unpleasant, or else we do not learn what faces us and how to deal with it. We can look at Paul's missions to the churches for some specifics. Paul recognized Satan and never underestimated or downplayed him. Satan is real. We can know this because Jesus recognized and had direct and personal interactions with Satan, as happened in the wilderness, where Christ was given a series of temptations in Matthew 4 1 through 11 and Luke 10 1 through 13. So, what does Satan do to us? In the context of 1 Thessalonians 2:18, Satan hinders the work of those who carry out God's work. Satan does this by placing obstacles, difficulties, and roadblocks in the way. In Paul's case, he had difficulties in trying to return to the church in Thessalonica. Some examples of what Satan does to us include temptation, 1 Thessalonians 3:5, where Satan targets to tempt Christ's workers and negates their labors. Another is where Satan blinds the minds of unbelievers, 2 Corinthians 4:4, to make the believers' work more difficult by keeping the light of Christ away from the unbelievers. Satan works to bring disobedience into people, as described in Ephesians 2:2, where Paul refers to Satan as the prince of the power of the air. Satan particularly targets the church to weaken it and bring it into disarray. What I described are only a few examples of Satan's work at creating obstacles and difficulties for believers. Believers should first recognize that Satan exists, is actively at work to subvert them, and they have the tools to combat him through the shield of faith, Ephesians 6:16. Our faith is our shield. We must walk in obedience to Christ. We should pray. Paul prayed and found that Christ had power through his physical weakness, 2 Corinthians 12:9. Satan focuses on the believers. Satan is in the church. Satan works to wreak destruction, division, and discouragement in them. In the church in Ephesus, Satan tempted the church leaders. Paul gave instructions to them to be experienced and educated in the Word, not a novice, so they would not have a false sense of preparation for the job, which leads to pride. They must live holy lives to avoid being discredited or fall into reproach. Certainly a lesson for us in our day. Satan took advantage of the church in Corinth. Paul acknowledged the church was not ignorant of Satan and his devices, but he instructed that forgiveness, love, and obedience can combat them. Again, a shield, both individual and corporate. And what seems like an irony, God uses Satan's obstacles to overcome him. Paul's stay in Thessalonica was only a short time, perhaps as little as 3 weeks, and not more than 3 months. He left for his safety because his preaching started causing much danger and persecution against him. He never returned, though he very much wanted to. If Paul had returned to Thessalonica, it may have caused punishment to others by the authorities and ended his ministry right then as a martyr. Instead, Paul was able to continue, and the church in Thessalonica continued to grow and encourage him, despite his lack of a physical presence. So, if we want to know about Satan, and we should want to know, we can look directly into the Bible, which gives specifics about how he works, what to look out for, and how we can overcome him. They are not hypothetical examples, but real accounts of what happened, and continue today. One thing that comes out, and that is the church is the prime target. That makes sense. The unbelievers are already lost. Satan just has to blind them to the word. Don't think that now that you have joined a church or have been a member for a long time, that you are no longer a subject to Satan's attention or somehow immune from his attempts. Quite the opposite. It may get worse. After I enrolled in seminary, I found unexplained obstacles and discouragement throughout my time there. I really wanted to quit. These continued until the very last assignment, which by that time I accepted with glee and really amusement, as I knew by that point he had wasted his time. However, I know that's not the end of it. There are more obstacles to come. Satan works on all members. There are those who have just come to Christ and are growing. Satan uses deceit and temptation to throw them off track. With church members, he sows dissension and disobedience. With church leaders, he throws obstacles in their path to try to discourage them and make their work more difficult. He creates situations to discredit them and their ministries. However, the church today, as in Thessalonica, can continue to grow strong through obedience, fellowship, and giving glory to Christ, where its believers can also share in it, because Satan cannot.